Welcome to this comprehensive walkthrough guide about the Groovesetter application. This walkthrough is going to be a rather lengthy one, so to help, we have added timestamps in the description below, in case you want to quickly jump between chapters. Before we dive deep into the topic at hand, I want to briefly talk about the concept of a software like Groovesetter. When looking at how remote audio collaboration is typically done around the industry, we notice that most larger projects within music production and audio production for film, television, and video games are utilizing some sort of combination of complex audio collaboration tools. Unfortunately, they are often restrictive to a single channel, directional connection. Audio in most cases is compressed, or it comes with a lot of latency, eliminating the possibility to collaborate synchronously, in real time, from multiple locations. We wanted to solve this problem with a tool that would help you. At its core, Groovesetter was built as a real-time multi-channel audio collaboration platform for streaming and recording over high-speed internet at the lowest possible latency. But then we quickly realized that it could be used for so much more than that. When thinking about what session creation management for artists really comes down to, we learned that it involves a few key but simple features. 1. It has to be a simple but organized structure to implement. 2. It has to be easy to use. No complicated things to figure out. 3. It has to have the ability to preserve each session's creation metadata, making it easy for you to maintain and recall session information. 4. It has to have great remote connectivity for both Windows and macOS computers, and easy integration into your current production workflow. Today's focus will be to give you an extensive guide into Groovesetter and how you can fully leverage its features to get the most out of it. You can even optimize Groovesetter to jam online together. Yes, you heard that right. Groovesetter allows you to perform real-time, in complete synchrony with your bandmates at distances as far as 400 miles apart, provided the internet connection is stable. So sit tight and let's get started. In this walkthrough, we will guide you through all the steps to optimize your Groovesetter experience. We will cover what the system requirements are, installing the Jack Audio Sound Server API, installing the Groovesetter application, the Groovesetter user interface, a quick guide to setting up your audio devices, an overview of how to start and join a session, audio routing fundamentals, managing peer-to-peer latency settings, routing multi-channel audio feeds to and from digital audio workstations, and open broadcast software, and managing your session metadata. System requirements. To use the Groovesetter application, you must have the minimum system requirements. On Windows computers, Groovesetter requires Windows 10 in order to connect to Groovesetter sessions and other groovers. The use of optional virtual channels for connecting external digital audio workstation applications is supported up to the latest Windows 10 release. On Apple computers, Groovesetter is compatible with macOS 10.13 High Sierra and above. On all Apple computers, aggregate audio devices can be set up along with third-party extensions to route multi-channel audio to and from digital audio workstations. The use of optional virtual channels is supported up to macOS 10.14 Mojave and will not work on macOS 10.15 Catalina or macOS 11 Big Sur. Support for Apple's new M1 chip computers is not available at this time. Access to an internet connection for authorizing and using Groovesetter application is required. It is important that you use a wired connection. Wireless connections are not as stable as a wired connection. This means that the signal can be unreliable and result in packet loss connection problems, or higher latency or audio glitches. Connect directly to your modem or router with an Ethernet cable to eliminate this possibility and have the fastest connection possible. For the best experience, a fast internet connection is highly recommended. You can use Groovesetter to connect multiple groovers over the internet, either over wide area network, local area network, and any combination of both. To connect groovers over a LAN, all macOS and Windows computers should belong to the same LAN and be connected to the same router. Jack Audio Sound Server API. Groovesetter works with Jack, an open-source professional sound server API. It is important that you download and install the Jack Sound Server API on your machine before you install Groovesetter. On macOS 10.13 High Sierra or later, you need to have Jack OS X version 0.9 to be 3. On Windows 10, you will need Jack version 1.9.1164. Please note that other versions of Jack will not work with Groovesetter. Uninstall all other versions and restart your computer before proceeding with a new Jack installation. Windows users, ensure that the Jack Audio Server API is installed in your Program Files folder. Once you have Jack installed on your device, install Groovesetter with the default settings. On Windows computers, the installer will run, and when it has completed the application installation, you will see a Groovesetter shortcut icon on your desktop. Launch Groovesetter by double-clicking the icon. On Apple computers, after running the installer and depending on your security settings, You may see a message asking you to confirm you want to open Groovesetter. You may also be prompted to accept incoming network connections and access to your microphone the first time you launch Groovesetter. Accept both, and Groovesetter will open and prompt you to enter your credentials. The Groovesetter user interface home screen is divided into 3 sections. On the left, you can create and book your sessions. The middle section has the list of your created sessions and sessions you've been invited to. The right side of the screen shows your Groover connections. In order to participate in sessions along with other Groovers, you must have the Groovers added to your Groovers list. Click on Invite More Groovers to search for Groovers you want to connect with. Type the exact username or email of the Groover you wish to connect with and click the Search button. If an account with that username or email exists, the search will return a successful result and you will be able to send a request to connect. To view the Groover's full profile, click on the avatar immediately to the left of the Send Request button. This would display the Groover's full performer profile including their photo, roles, preferred genre and instrument. To view, accept or decline Groover Ed requests, click on the Invites button at the top right of the home screen. A list of invites from other Groovers requesting to add you will be displayed. Creating a session. Creating and joining sessions is how Groovers in the Groovesetter community collaborate remotely. To host a session with other Groovers, you will need to create a session first. The Create Session Information window is where you can fill out all of the basic metadata about your session, including optional metadata you want to capture during the creation process. Please note that session name, project name, and session description fields are required in order to be able to book or start a session. Sessions can be part of the same project. If you create multiple sessions under the same project, you will be able to filter and view the details for all of the sessions from a particular project. To invite Groovers to join the session, click on the plus and select from the Groovers in your contact list. Fill out the additional details if you would like to record additional metadata about your specific session. All metadata information you enter about your session, including details about who participated in the session, will be recorded and stored after your session is over. Once you are ready, you can either click the Book Session button to save the session in your Saved Sessions list, or you can proceed with starting the session by clicking Groove On. When you book a session, the session is saved in your Saved Sessions list. Click on the small arrow to the right of the saved session to expand and view the details of the session. If your session has not been started yet, you will be able to edit the session information, including adding or removing Groovers, change the session name, or project and session metadata. The Copy button will allow you to book a duplicate copy of the session, and clicking on Start Groove will start the session. To join a session, navigate to the Join Session section from the home screen of the Groovesetter application. You can join a session if you've been invited to it, or if you have the session invite link code. Click on the arrow to expand and view the details of a particular session. In addition to viewing metadata information filled out by the session creator, you will be able to decline or join the session. If you have been provided with a session link code, paste the session link in the Join Session tab of the Groovesetter home screen and click the Join Groove button. Configuring audio devices. You are able to configure the settings for each session with the Session Settings window. Everyone joining a session will be able to configure their own settings, except for sample rate and buffer size, which is always set by the creator of the session. Since Groovesetter uses uncompressed audio, we recommend you use external headphones and a microphone for the best Groovesetter experience, and to avoid looping audio from your speakers to your microphone and back to the participants you are connecting with. On Apple computers, Groovesetter uses the core audio driver. Select Default as your input and output device. Your session will use the default device selected in your System Preferences audio settings. On Windows computers, you have the option to select from the different audio drivers available on your machine, such as MME, Direct Sound, or ACO. Connecting an ACO driver compatible audio hardware is optional, but recommended for optimal audio performance, and reducing hardware sound latency on Windows computers. Next, if you are creating the session, select your desired sample rate and buffer size. When joining a session, the sample rate and buffer size is set by the session creator. Please note, sample rate and buffer size settings depend on your audio hardware capabilities. Double check that the hardware you are using for the session is able to run the desired audio settings. Otherwise, your session will not start. Next, select the number of interface input and output channels you would like to use during the session. The number of available interface input and output channels will also depend on the audio hardware you are using for your session. In most cases, if you are using the default microphone and headphone jack on your computer, you will have either one or two channels available as inputs, and a stereo pair available as outputs for your speakers or headphones. If you are using an external audio interface or mixer with more than 2 channels, you may utilize all additional available channels your interface supports. Next, select your desired virtual input and output channels. Virtual channels allow you to connect digital audio workstations, such as Pro Tools or Ableton, to your Groovesetter audio mixer routing matrix. It is important to note that session settings cannot be changed during an active session. Click the Got It button to enter your session. If your session settings are compatible with your hardware setup, your session screen will load. The session screen of Groovesetter is where all the magic happens. The main window will load the GrooveLink audio mixer routing matrix. It will display the number of channels of our input and output device we specified on the previous session settings screen. The GrooveLink routing grid provides flexible audio routing and mixing options. Along the top of the window, you will see the signals incoming to your matrix. There are several types of sources. This includes your physical input device channels of your microphone or external audio interface, which would show up as your stage name. As other groovers join the session, the audio channels arriving from them will show up along the top as well. Audio channels arriving from external applications, such as digital audio workstations like Pro Tools or Ableton, will also show up along the top. So, audio sources shown as your incoming signals can be physical inputs, connected groovers, or audio applications. Now, let's look at sound recipients. On the left side of the matrix, you will find the destinations your GrooveLink matrix can route audio to. First, we have your output device channels, such as your computer speakers, headphone jack, or external audio interface. As other groovers join the session, the audio channels you are sending to them over the internet will show up below. Last will be the audio channels sending signals to your connected external applications, such as digital audio workstations like Pro Tools or Ableton, or broadcasting software like OBS. So audio destinations, shown as your sound recipients, can be physical outputs of your computer or external audio interface, connected groovers, or connected audio applications. Here is the full layout of the GrooveLink audio routing matrix in an active session. In this scenario, I have my headphones connected to my external audio interface, so I will be able to hear anything routed to my first sound recipient channel in my left headphone speaker. Anything routed to my second sound recipient channel, I will be able to hear in my right headphone speaker. Notice how the arrows and the path of the signal are highlighted as I move the mouse across the grid. Routing an incoming signal to a sound recipient is easy. I simply click a tile on the grid to make a routing connection. Once I click on a tile, the tile will light up with the color of the incoming signal channel, and the signal will be routed to the destination. In this example, I'm routing input number 1 from Boston to the first recipient channel of my audio interface. If I want to make a stereo connection, I click to channels, like this. Now I'm routing the first incoming channel and the second incoming channel from Boston to my recipient channels number 1 and 2 of my audio interface. This results in me hearing the signal in both my left and right headphone speaker. Let's look at what the session screen looks like on Boston's side. Boston's GrooveLink routing matrix is set up the same way as mine. Along the top are all incoming signals arriving to Boston's routing matrix. Currently, Boston has two physical audio interface inputs connected to his matrix, as well as to channels arriving over the internet from me. On the left side sound recipients section of the matrix, Boston has the dual outputs for the physical audio interface, as well as the two open channels Boston is using to send signal to me. The dual inputs from the audio interface are routed to the two channels Boston is using to send audio signal to me over the internet. Back on my screen, I am routing these two incoming signal channels from Boston to my own recipient channels number 1 and 2 of my audio interface. This allows me to monitor Boston's signal directly in my headphones. As Boston captures audio using a microphone, that uncompressed sound is traveling through Boston's audio interface, then over the internet, and then arrives directly to me over the two peer-to-peer channels Boston and I have connected with. From here, once the signal arrives to my routing matrix, I am able to route the signal to any output connected on my matrix. This could be additional outputs on my audio interface, or mix board, other groovers, or external compatible audio applications. Mixing outgoing and incoming audio signals. Let's see a different potential scenario. Another groover with the username Nashville Music has joined the session, and I have two separate channels of uncompressed audio arriving from Nashville to my routing matrix. Let's quickly take a look at Nashville's setup before we do any routing. In this example, you see that Nashville has joined the session using an external audio interface which supports 16 inputs and 16 outputs, and they have labeled and color-coded input channel 5 and 12. Channel 5 from their audio interface labeled as guitar is routing to recipient channel number 1, going to me over the internet. Additionally, Nashville is routing input 12 through 16 from their audio interface to my recipient channel number 2. Back on my screen, I receive these signals as incoming signals from Nashville. I can route these to channels, to my recipient channels number 1 and 2 of my audio interface, which allows me to monitor Nashville's signal in my headphone speakers. As you can hear, incoming signal channel 1 from Nashville is the guitar, and incoming signal channel 2 from Nashville is drums. But the guitar signal is panned hard left, and the drums signal is panned hard right. The reason for this is because each peer-to-peer channel connected between groovers is a mono channel. If I want to make a stereo connection to monitor the guitar, I click to channels, like this. Now I'm routing the first incoming channel from Nashville to both my recipient output channel number 1 and output channel number 2 of my audio interface. The Groove Link routing matrix allows splitting a source signal to multiple destinations. For example, I have already routed the incoming signals from Nashville and Boston directly to my headphone speaker outputs for monitoring. So now, I'm also going to route these incoming signals to each other so they can hear each other's audio feeds. I can also route the guitar signal from Nashville to Boston by simply clicking this tile. As I do this, the incoming signal I'm receiving from Nashville on channel 1 is routed to the sound recipient channel 1, which I'm using to send audio to Boston. Boston will now be able to hear Nashville. If I want Nashville to hear the signal from Boston, I will simply click on the tile, like this. What if I want to record each incoming signal on separate tracks in my DAW? Simple. I can route each incoming signal to one of my available sound recipient channels going to my DAW. In this example, I'm routing each incoming signal, arriving to my matrix, to separate recipient channels of my DAW. Now, as I switch to my DAW and hit record, you can see that each signal is recorded on separate tracks in Ableton. Here is a cool trick. Instead of doing all of the routing manually, I can automatically connect every groover in my session with a single click. I'll do that by making a single mouse click on the Connect All button. The Connect All button will begin flashing, indicating that auto connection is enabled. You can see all groovers are connected to each other with the default audio routing configuration. Please note, the Auto Connect function disables manual audio routing. If I turn off the Connect All button, the routing grid will revert to the last saved configuration, and I am able to continue making additional routing changes if I wish. In this section, we covered the basic concepts of routing audio recipients to destinations in the Groove Link routing grid. Next, we will show you ways to manage the peer-to-peer latency settings for each connected groover, and even more flexibility of the routing matrix of the Groovesetter platform. Managing peer-to-peer latency is very easy with Groovesetter, and performing music in synchrony over the internet with Groovesetter is possible with the correct settings and geographical distances. First, a quick explanation about latency, or also known as signal delay. There are two main sources of latency in a Groovesetter session. The first source of latency can be introduced by the audio hardware connected to your computer and your computer's processing power. Your audio hardware and device driver introduce latency in the signal during the process of converting analog signal to digital and vice versa. This usually ranges between a few milliseconds or hundreds of milliseconds, depending on the audio hardware and audio driver you are using, as well as the buffer size you specify in your session settings. Generally, lower buffer size settings result in lower latency. However, this may introduce audio crackles and pops in the signal, because the computer processor must work harder to process all the sound. A great starting point for testing your system capabilities is to select 48,000 kHz for the sample rate, and 128 for your buffer size. The second source of latency is only introduced when collaborating with other groovers remotely, over the internet. Groovesetter establishes a direct peer-to-peer connection with uncompressed sound. When a peer-to-peer connection is established, the two computers are connected directly, either over a local area network or wide area network over the internet. On a local area network connection, the amount of time it takes for the audio signal to travel from one computer to another is usually less than 10 milliseconds, depending on the quality and setup of the local area network. When groovers are connecting over a wide area internet network, the time it takes for the audio signal to travel from one computer and to reach another computer will depend on the network connection between the connecting groovers, as well as the distance the signal must travel over the internet wire. For example, if a groover in Nashville connects to a groover who is approximately 300 miles away in Atlanta, the direct groover-to-groover audio signal will arrive in roughly 8 to 10 milliseconds over a high-speed home internet connection. Longer distances will result in higher latency between groovers. For example, a coast-to-coast connection between Los Angeles and New York can be as low as 40 milliseconds when using a home internet connection. A connection between Los Angeles and Europe will result in average peer-to-peer latency of around 140 milliseconds. Groovesetter provides a direct peer-to-peer, uncompressed audio connection with zero added latency to the transmitted signal, allowing groovers to connect remotely at the speed of light. Groovesetter displays the direct peer-to-peer latency, measured between the creator of the session and the joining groovers. This measurement is displayed in milliseconds, in the session information window, as well as next to the stage name of each groover, along the top incoming signal channels. The initial established connection between connecting groovers includes a default, added, peer-to-peer buffer. This is set up to compensate for any network connection irregularities. The session creator is able to control this additional individual signal buffer for each connected groover. This way, the session creator can refine and optimize the audio latency and sound clarity for the various use cases during a session. This allows for session connections to be optimized for multi-channel, uncompressed audio, remote recording, monitoring, and even real-time synchronous performance. Once a successful connection with another groover has been established, the session creator can click the Refine button next to the connected groover's stage name. This will open the GrooveLink P2P connection settings window. This window offers several additional options available, which include the number of channels that can be established between the connected groover and the session creator, the audio bitrate resolution, the redundancy of the signal exchanged between the groover and the session host, as well as the sound quality buffer processing for both the groover and the host. This jitter buffer setting has a direct effect on the quality and latency that the two groovers experience while connected. By selecting a lower jitter buffer value, you are able to lower the latency to the lowest possible value. It is important to note that if the internet connection is unstable, or if the groovers are connected over wireless instead of wired Ethernet connection, lowering the jitter buffer may result in audio crackling pops and dropouts. When using a stable, wired internet connection, we recommend trying different buffer values until the optimal setting is reached. Usually, when both groovers have a stable connection, using a value of 6 or 8 for the jitter buffer will result in clear uncompressed audio connection at the lowest possible latency. In the case of groovers connecting in radius up to 400 miles apart, this would result in the ability to play together in synchrony, while each groover hears everyone else. Experiment with these settings to find the best and optimal numbers for your specific session. For sessions where the connecting groovers are located at further distances, such as during international collaborations or coast-to-coast collaborations, you can use the Synchronization Metronome to synchronize all individual signals arriving to your matrix from the connected groovers. Click on the Synchronize and Record button to start the metronome. This will display a countdown screen for each groover in the session. The metronome will begin flashing based on the beats per minute and time signature set by you in the metronome settings. When using the Synchronization Metronome features over long distances, it is important that the connected groovers do not monitor each other's signal. Otherwise, they will hear the delay introduced by the longer distance. Virtual channels and connecting external digital audio workstations to the GrooveLink audio routing matrix. You can record each connected groover's individual audio channels directly in your digital audio workstation if you have a compatible external audio hardware setup. Additionally, connecting external digital audio workstations to the Groovesetter audio routing matrix is possible by using the optional virtual input and output channels. This allows everyone connected in a session to easily route audio directly into their DAW of choice during a session, as well as route audio from their DAW to any destination on the routing matrix. You can connect your DAW using virtual channels. When starting or joining a session, you have the ability to select the number of virtual channels you want to use in a session. The session creator can select up to 8 virtual input and 8 virtual output channels. All groovers invited to a session can join the session with a maximum of 2 virtual input and output channels. To use the GrooveLink audio routing matrix for connecting audio signal to and from your DAW of choice or other compatible audio applications, you need to launch the DAW after your Groovesetter session is active. Then open your DAW's audio settings and select Jack Router as your input and output audio driver device. Here, I have started a Groovesetter session with 8 virtual input and output channels. Once my Groovesetter session loads, I can open my Ableton Live, navigate to the audio preference panel, and select Jack Router as my audio input and output device for Ableton Live. I would then assign the input and output channels for each track in Ableton I would like to have access to on the GrooveLink audio routing matrix. In this example, I am loading a playback audio file on track 3 in Ableton. I will disable the input for that track, and I will assign the output of that track to be output channel number 7. For track number 4, let's set the input as external input channel number 3. Let's assign the track's exterior out channel to be the external output channel number 7 as well. I'll also change the name of this track, enable monitoring, and arm it for recording. Now, let's switch over to Groovesetter and do our audio routing. Along the top of the Groovesetter audio routing matrix are the sound sources arriving to the matrix, shown as incoming signals. I have my guitar connected to channel 2 of my external audio interface. This is represented by this second channel, right here. Audio channels arriving from my Ableton DAW applications are also displayed up along the top. I will first route the incoming signals from Ableton channel 7 to my sound recipient 1 and 2. This will allow me to monitor anything coming from that channel in my left and right headphone speakers. In our example, this would be the playback audio file. I will then route the signal from my guitar directly to Ableton's sound recipient channel number 3. The audio feed from my guitar is now going directly to the assigned track in Ableton and feeding back to my headphones. Let's record a short sample. Because of the capabilities of the Groovesetter audio routing matrix, I can also route Ableton's channel 7 to both Boston and Nashville. This way, both will hear the same thing as me. In this section, we covered how to connect digital audio workstations to the GrooveLink audio routing matrix using the optional virtual channels. Using this method, you are able to simultaneously record multiple groovers in real time on separate tracks in your DAW of choice, or route mix sessions for direct monitoring. You can even connect broadcast software to stream synchronized signal to social media and live streaming platforms. In this next section, we will cover how all the creation metadata of the session is stored. Clicking the End Session button will disconnect all participants and end the current session. Ending the session displays the session metadata screen. The metadata includes all session information entered by the session creator at the start of the session. Once a session is over, a lot of specific additional metadata can be captured about your session, including data about each groover who participated in the session. Before finalizing the metadata, you are able to add additional information such as the role for each participating groover, as well as additional credits and rights management information. If you want to add or edit additional groover details and credits, now is the time. Selecting Finalize Session Metadata will create a reference file saved in a project folder on your hard drive, and will lock the ability to further edit the metadata on the Groovesetter platform. The reference file you save on your hard drive will be a reference copy only of the original data. Well, there you have it, everyone. We have learned how to use the Groovesetter application, from starting and joining sessions, to connecting multiple participants with multi-channel uncompressed audio, to managing session metadata to make sure all of the creation data is captured during the creation process. We have covered a lot today. If you feel like learning more about Groovesetter, visit our website and our support desk help center where we have answered many additional questions. Be sure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss our future broadcasts and extra tips and tricks on how to groove together remotely. We hope you enjoyed this video, and we look forward to grooving together soon.